Yo, what's good? Hey, I'm back with another video today, and this is an important one because one, I wasn't gonna have the time to talk about this tomorrow. I wasn't gonna have the time to talk about it and give my thoughts and takes on it and break it down tomorrow. And I was already up. I had the setup already up, so I said, you know what? I'm gonna go ahead and dive on that. And I'm Marcus here at the channel The Debt Free Dad, where we're talking finances, financial takes, financial topics, current events, and attorney reactions. Hey, as always, I got to give the disclaimer. I am a licensed attorney in many places. It's late, your boy Ty. I'm a licensed attorney in several places, but none of those places amount to me being your attorney. So this isn't legal or financial advice. I'm just letting y'all know what's going on, giving my opinion and takes on topics and current events, and keeping y'all posted on some of the financial moves we are making on my family's journey to financial freedom. So I got to put on my over a decade worth of experience practitioner at law hat. For anybody who watching this for the first time, hey, like I said, I'm a licensed attorney. I've been in the game for 13, almost 14 years now. Probably 15 years of legal experience, but I've been practicing for almost 14 years now. Damn, I'm getting old as hell. But essentially, I started out as a criminal defense attorney. I specialize in financial crimes, fraud, those type of crimes. So I'm not going to say I'm an expert in this area, but I do have some familiarity. And I wanted to just jump on while it was fresh, even though I'm tired as hell. I was like, you know what? Let's go and chop it up, get it out the way now. Because, like I said, I'm not going to do this tomorrow because something other news going to break probably related to this, and I had to circle back, and the shit would just be a mess. So, what happened? What's going on in the news? Well, former President Donald Trump became the first ex-president to be charged with a crime. He was indicted by a Manhattan grand jury. What the hell is an indictment? What is a grand jury? Let's just rewind it back so everybody got a good foundation. You can skip through this video or this part later on if you want to move to the meat and potatoes. Essentially, the breakdown of the format is I'm going to talk a little bit about what a grand jury is, what they do. Then I actually found a dope article where I'm going to give a timeline of events from essentially when everything started until how President Trump got here now in the situation he's in. So I'm gonna give a timeline. After that timeline, I'm gonna dive in a little bit about what's going on because this is not a slam dunk. We're gonna talk about is he gonna get convicted? What's the technicality that he could avoid all of these issues with? We're gonna talk a little bit about other pending criminal matters that he got. I'm gonna let y'all know, hey, the a president get Secret Service if he's actually in custody, which is interesting. And then after that, I'm gonna talk a little bit about the political aspect, give my opinion. And like I said, if y'all got any questions, y'all drop them in the comments, and I'll circle back if I have to explain. So, what is a grand jury? What is an indictment? Essentially, a grand jury is a group of people in the area that they just get and they make them hear all types of cases. So this grand jury probably not only heard Donald Trump's case, they heard 50 other people cases. Now, depending on where you at, as there could be some changes as to how long the grand jury sits. Some states, the grand jury convenes for 2 or 3 months, and these people come in every week at the same time, and they just hear a case, they hear another case, they hear another case. Now, in these proceedings, the grand jury's job is not to say, hey, you committed a crime, take your ass to jail. Their job is to say, based on this evidence, there's enough evidence here where this should go to an actual jury and they should make a determination on persons. And now, when you're talking about grand juries, depending on where you're at, they do it different ways. Some places, the grand jury doesn't afford the defendant or the accused an opportunity to have counsel present and ask questions. But some states, they do allow counsel to be present. So it kind of all just depends. Now, for all you people out there who, and this isn't a Trump hating or a political thing, I'm just explaining shit. So just to kind of get that out of the way. But there is an old saying that attorneys heard, attorneys say, prosecutors say, an indictment doesn't mean anything. You can indict a ham sandwich. And that's kind of true. I could put anyone on the stand, and with a few pieces of evidence, I should be able to get an indictment, get charges filed. That doesn't equate to a conviction. So that's just kind of a background on what a grand jury is, what an indictment is just criminal charges. Now, at some point, I do believe that President Trump isn't going to take your typical perp walk. I'm pretty sure his attorneys are going to work with local prosecutors. He's going to go surrender himself to authorities. He probably won't even have cuffs on. If you do have cuffs on, they'll be in the front as opposed to the back. But that's just kind of the technicality. Now I want to go to this article and I'm going to go through this timeline. This probably be the longest part of the video, but it is informative because it lets you know how we got here in this situation. I thought this was a really good article. I'm going to go through it kind of fast because I don't want to be here all damn night. Trump's alleged hush money payments and the path to criminal charges. Now, y'all got to remember there are two criminal things that are brewing. What he's indicted for is related to hush money that was allegedly paid to Stormy Daniels to keep her quiet so that it didn't interfere with his campaign in 2016 to become president. He also has matters pending related to the January insurrection that occurred in 2020, I believe it was. And so we're talking with just the hush money payments so everybody know where we're at. Trump's alleged hush money payments and the path to criminal charges. In January 2018, the Wall Street Journal reported that Trump arranged a $130,000 payment to porn star Stormy Daniels in October 2016 to prevent her from discussing a sexual encounter she said she had with Trump in 2006. Trump consistently denied the affair, whose real name is Stephanie Clifford. In February 2018, Michael Cohen, a former private lawyer and fixer for Trump, fixer, snitch, same difference, said he paid Daniels using his own money and was not directed by Trump's company or campaign to make the payment. He said Trump never reimbursed him for the payment. Cohen would later contradict both statements under oath, stating Trump did in fact direct him to make the payment and reimburse him. Now, Michael Cohen set his ass in jail for these exact things. So the exact thing that they're uh, charging Trump with, just remember, keep it in the back of your head, Michael Cohen already sat in jail for his role in this. February 2018, New Yorker magazine reports that Trump had an affair with Playboy model Karen McDougal from 2006 to 2007. The magazine said that American Media Inc., publisher of the National Enquirer tabloid, paid McDougal $150,000 shortly after Trump became the Republican nominee for president for exclusive rights to her story. The National Enquirer never published the story. April 2018, Trump, when asked by reporters if he knew about the payments to Daniels, responded no. Asked why Cohen made the payment, Trump said, "You have to ask Michael Cohen." May 2018, an ethics disclosure, Trump acknowledges reimbursing Cohen for the $130,000 paid to Daniels. Is an ethics disclosure. Most times those things are signed under penalty of perjury. That's under oath, so keep that in mind. In July 2018, he got some of the worst lawyers on his team ever. Rudy Giuliani, one of Trump's personal lawyers at the time, says Cohen recorded a conversation with Trump 2 months before 2016 election in which he discussed a potential payment to McDougal. Trump denies wrongdoing and calls Cohen tape perhaps illegal. Is the tape illegal? Isn't it? It depends if you're in a one-party consent jurisdiction or two-party consent. Some states you only need one party to record a conversation. Other states you need both parties to record a conversation. That's neither here nor there because all that is out in the open. Cohen already spent time for it, and you got to keep hold of who your team because before this even became an issue, this dude was recording stuff to cover his ass. Why would you record a conversation that you're having with somebody you're supposed to rock with? To cover your ass, to have some insurance just in case you got to leverage it down the road. All right, August of 2018, Cohen pleads guilty to criminal charges in Manhattan federal court, including campaign finance violations over the hush money payments. He testified that Trump directed him to make the payments for the principal purpose of influencing the election. In the indictment of Cohen, prosecutor says a candidate for federal office referred to as individual. It was so stupid why they didn't name him, but that's the politics of it. Arranged the payments. Trump was not charged with the crime. Jeffrey Berman, the top federal prosecutor in Manhattan at the time, later confirmed that Trump was individual one. December 2018, Trump on Twitter calls the hush money payments a simple private transaction. God, you got to shut up when these type of things happen, because now you just, it's terrible. But you make emissions when you keep your mouth shut. Sometimes the best thing people could do is be quiet. A simple private transaction. In an interview with Reuters, he says the payment to Daniel wasn't a campaign contribution and there was no violation based on what we did. That reads like an admission to me, but it is what it is. Cyrus Vance, the Manhattan district attorney at the time, issued a subpoena to the Trump Organization, Trump Family Real Estate Company, for records of hush money payments. In July of 2021, Vance's office indicts the Trump Organization, not him himself, and his top financial executive on tax fraud charges. Trump himself is not charged with the crime, and the indictment contains no reference to hush money payments. February 2022, two top prosecutors leading the probe into Trump business practices resigned. One of the prosecutors, Mark what is his name? Pomerantz, later said his resignation came after Alvin Bragg, who replaced Vance as district attorney, indicated to him he had doubts about pursuing the case against Trump. Now that's a big deal because, hey, you got to give him credit. Alvin Bragg is still there, and he's the one that got this thing indicted and got these charges done. Because as a prosecutor, political shit shouldn't come into your idea whether to indict somebody or charge them or what. It should be, did a crime occur? Do we have evidence to support that a crime occurred? If the answer is yes, you indict them. I don't give a damn who it is. That's how it's supposed to be, but we know what it is. December 2022, the Trump Organization is found guilty of tax fraud after trial in New York State Court in Manhattan. January 2023, Bragg office begins presenting evidence about Trump's alleged role in the 2016 hush money payments to the grand jury. Manhattan prosecutors in March of 2023 invite Trump to testify before the grand jury, which legal expert says a sign an indictment could come soon. Cohen testifies before the grand jury. March 18th of 2023, Trump says on his social media, Truth Social, that he expects to be arrested on Tuesday and calls for his supporters to protest. A spokesperson for Trump said the former president had not been notified of any arrest. March 23rd, Bragg's office says Trump created a false expectation that he would be arrested and tells Republican congressmen seeking communication, documents, and testimony about the probe that they were interfering with an ongoing investigation. March 24th, Trump warns of potential death and destruction if he is charged with a crime. March 30th, a law enforcement source and U.S. media reports Trump is indicted. So that is where we are today. That's just a history and a synopsis of how we actually got here. Hey, what's going on, Aaron? How you doing, sis? Trump 2024. Hey, I'm gonna talk about it later, but it's not out of the question that he could win this thing still. Wish somebody would pay me to shut up. Yeah, I agree. And so that's kind of where we at right now. So we talked about what a grand jury is, what the indictment is, how that played out, whether he's going to surrender or not. That's just kind of the background. Now I got a little bit of notes here. So I wanted to make sure I didn't miss anything, okay? So right now, currently the indictment is sealed. So we don't know what the actual charges are. That'll probably get unsealed in the next 24, 36 hours, somewhere in that time frame, probably more in line with 24 hours. But we can take a good guess what the charges are. The indictment, like I said, is related to the Stormy Daniels hush money. He's still under investigation for the 2020 election interference issues. He's gonna likely negotiate a surrender through his attorney so he can get the handcuffs in the front versus the handcuffs in the back, because it makes a difference just for optics purposes. All right, the star witness is going to be who else? Michael Cohen. Like I said, he already spent time in prison for the exact same thing. And if you look through his court documents, President Trump is brought up as individual number one, and the prosecutor later confirmed that Trump is individual number one. Cohen paid the Trump organization. Cohen paid Stormy Daniels. The Trump organization reimbursed him. And a lot of people are asking, well, how is that a campaign finance violation? Michael Cohen paid the money. Trump used money from other sources. Isn't that money people donated to his, large, some PAC through his political coffers, so to speak? So how the hell is that a campaign finance violation? Well, what makes it a campaign finance violation is not where the money came from per se. That's a whole different crime, and I'm gonna talk about that. But it's a campaign finance violation because the money was paid to keep her from talking, which had a direct impact or could have had a direct impact on the outcome of the election. So that is what makes it a campaign finance violation. You don't necessarily have to use dollars that were given to you by donors or some big ass corporation because they let corporations donate to political campaigns, which is stupid as hell, but that's a whole nother story. But that's how it's a campaign finance violation. The other charge, so you got two charges you gotta that are gonna likely be on there. A campaign finance violation, and then another charge for fraud and altering documents related to the cover up. Cohen pays Daniels. Trump organization reimbursed Cohen. They don't want it to look like, hey, this is for the hush money for the jump off when I was clapping cheeks. So they do some funny stuff with the paperwork to try to make it look official. So you got the the alteration and the falsification of evidence. Then you got the campaign finance violations. Now let's get down to the meat and potatoes of it. Conviction is not guaranteed, okay? There are a couple reasons why conviction isn't guaranteed. I'm going to talk about the technical reason first because and this is a statement directly from the prosecutor's office in New York. The false records charge and the campaign finance, the false records charge has statute of limitation issues. So the technicality where he could get off relates to the statute of limitations with regard to those charges and combining them with the federal campaign finances charges to proceed together. Combining the false records charge with an election violation relating to payment to Daniels would be based on a legal theory that has yet to be evaluated by judges, raising the possibility that the court could throw out all or some of the charges. That's a direct quote from the Manhattan prosecutor's office. So they're going to have some issues potentially combining these two charges to proceed together. I don't think it'll make all of them go away, but that stale ass charge, when you got statute of limitation issue, they call it stale, like some old ass bread. But that stale ass charge will probably be the one would would probably be the one that would get tossed out just based on this. I don't see them throwing out both charges because you're trying to proceed with a stale charge and a charge that's still viable. You normally just drop the charge that's old, like, you know what, we're going to dump that one and move forward with the one that we have. So that's likely what's going to happen. Uh, and so what this means, the problem is, and the way it comes to joining the charges is we got to think about this because you got a state charge, you got a federal charge, and it really boils down to who can prosecute the case. With that state charge, it'll allow the Manhattan DA's office to move forward. But if that state charge is thrown out because it's still statute of limitations and you just got that federal charge, now you're talking about a federal prosecutor will have to proceed with it. And this is where it gets interesting because a lot of people who probably or may be sitting in a position to hold that federal seat. Not everybody want to fly close to the sun. The way it was explained to me in my career is, hey, sometimes you work on projects that's like flying close to the sun. If you look directly in it, it'll burn your ass. And if the state charge kind of goes away because it's old and it's just that federal charge, does the federal prosecutor's office in the Southern District of New York, I believe that case would be in, want that smoke that's going to come with the charge? Or what if Trump wins the election? Do they really want to deal with the potential consequences or repercussions that could come from that? So that's a big question. Now, Okay, the question everyone know is, does an indictment or conviction on this bar him from running for office? The answer is no. The indictment isn't going to bar him. A conviction may not bar him. There's really weird language that relates to what bars a president from holding office and the type of crimes, and it says high crimes. And high crimes is a generic term because what the hell is a high crime? Like, do you consider a high crime any felony? Do you consider it high level felonies, murder, rape, armed robbery? Do you consider it crimes of what they call moral turpitude, where it has something to do with the trust, like those money finance crimes? So because of that language, it's it's a little flimsy on, like, these things probably won't bar him for running for president. The indictment, a conviction probably won't bar him for running for president. The next question is, a thing that I would have just natural thought process is, okay, so Trump has to turn himself in, do a perp walk. It's probably gonna be a real cool, smooth perp walk too. With I mean, you the president with Secret Service. Does the president have Secret Service to protect him while he's in the pokey? Presumably. And the answer is yes. Your tax dollars, our tax dollars, I say our tax dollars will be hard at work because the statute does not, if the president is charged or is in custody, he does not lose his Secret Service protection. So we don't got to worry about. I seriously doubt that any prison gangs will be able to overpower the Secret Service personnel who will be afforded to Donald Trump for any time that he's in custody, which probably won't be much time, in my opinion. But yes, the president, if he's in custody, he will be entitled to Secret Service. So our tax dollars will definitely be putting in that good work. So everybody know, hey, the president will be entitled to that Secret Service. He's not gonna get snatched up by the vice lords or the Bloods or the Crips or anything. So just kind of put that out there. Now, the other question is like, what are the potential chances of him being convicted during a trial? Okay, so I talked a little bit about the technicality that could make one or all of these things just go away. Then he just got to worry about what's going to develop from that 2022 excuse me, 2020 January, that January 16th insurrection, election interference crap, which is a whole nother thing that he'll have to deal with down the road. But I talk a little bit about the technicality, how these could go away. But let's just be objective. Let's take a step back and look at, anytime you're preparing a case to move forward, you got to treat that shit as if I'm putting this in front of a jury. So I got to make sure the evidence, the witnesses, I got to have all the little billboards. I got to have that timeline that I read out to you all. If I were presenting this case, I would have a big ass board, and I would have 20 from the time it occurred, 2006, 9, whenever the hell it occurred, on that board, all the way up until current. And on that board, I would have green, and I had all these different charts to represent, so people could look at it and visually see it. Because if you read that shit to them, people are going to forget it in 5 seconds. I would have a visualized board that shows the timeline of events, that show this is where the crime occurred. Highlight that. This is where, I mean, to just lay all that out. And so, what are the likelihood of chances that this dude will actually be convicted at trial? Okay, I was right when Elon Musk was on trial. I got that one right. Somebody gave me a kudos. I'm gonna take my best stab at this one. Okay, I think there's sufficient evidence to convict him. I think it's obvious. I think he has admissions on record, some of which I read. I think that's compounded by the fact that Michael Cohen served time and also testified under oath to things that'll corroborate everything that we already know. The payments did happen, the cover up did happen. So the evidence is there. I don't think, and I'd be shocked if he is convicted. They're probably the two best places, if I were prosecuting this case, where I think I could get a jury that would be willing to vote guilty if they saw plain, clear evidence in front of them. Hey, beyond a reasonable doubt would be in the District of Columbia in New York City. Here's where the problem is going to lie, and why I seriously doubt that a conviction will come if this goes to trial. Because we know Trump ain't taking no damn plea. He not stupid. Why take a plea to anything? No, he's going to have to see this all the way through. And I'll talk about some of the political benefits of that. But I don't think this would be successful at trial. Let's just think of jury selection. And I love jury selection because you get to use all those skills you learned and train on body language and asking questions. They would have to find 12 jurors who are going to be fair and impartial. So, as I'm going through the jurors and the jurors are giving me their name, I would personally, if I'm Trump's attorney, or if I'm the prosecutor, it cuts both ways. But if I'm Trump's attorney, I would hire a staff of people to go through every one of those names they mention social media, because people don't block their social media, all that shit public most of the time. And if I see anything disparaging that they wrote that alludes to them being uh, not supportive of President Trump or saying something crazy about him, that's sufficient ground to get them removed from the jury. So the inverse of that is also true. The inverse of that would be true. If I'm Trump's attorneys, if I see anybody who got anything out there disparaging Trump, I'm gonna be like, hey, Your Honor, this is sufficient ground. This person can't be objective because they have a bias against my clients. You out of there. The other side is gonna be if I got somebody who's too pro Trump, you're not gonna want that guy on there as well. So it's gonna be really easy for people, for both sides, to throw out jurors for cause. You get a certain amount of jurors you can toss out without cause, and a certain amount you can throw out for cause. Bias is a good ass reason that every judge will allow you to throw somebody out. I think you'll be able to find those relatively easy on both sides. But let's say you do impanel a jury of 12 persons. After all this is said and done, you actually impanel a jury of 12 people. Even if they get a jury of 12 people, I just think it's damn near impossible to get 12 people on a jury without one person who's a hardcore Trump guy. I think that's impossible. It would be, if it happens, I would be shocked. But I just don't see that happening. I think out of 12 people, you're gonna have at least one guy who's a non-stop Trumper who probably like, hey, if I had the money, I would have been down there in January in DC. So I think it's gonna be hard to find a jury that doesn't contain one of those people. And so Trump doesn't need a not guilty here. All he needs is a hung jury. And in that case, all he needs is one person to say, I don't think he did it. I don't give a damn what I see. That's going to be a strong possibility. You know what else is going to be a possibility? It could be a mistrial, because I can also see a situation where jurors are going home and talking about the case to other people. And when that shit get out, you know what happened? Mistrial, we got to do all this over. So I think he has a couple of avenues to get out. None based, well, the technicality is based in law. I think he has an avenue to get out of at least one of the charges, possibly both, but more likely at least one of the charges on a legal technicality. Factually, I don't think anything is going in his favor factually. I think Stevie Wonder could see what the hell is going on, or what went on, what occurred here. But that's your job as a defense attorney. If you can't prove your case, your job is to muddy the waters to get one person to say, I don't think so. I think that's the strongest likelihood, the strongest possibility. Now, I'm not a political expert. I've been in politics uh, for a while, so I know a little bit about the environment, presidential appointees. I've sat with some of the biggest of the big wigs in federal and government. So from a political standpoint, how could I best put this? I think that the indictment is correct. There's clearly was enough evidence there, hence the reason the grand jury came back. But if they miss, which I'm gonna be honest, I just don't think any of this shit is gonna stick. I think it's gonna be a jury nullification is the phrase. Jury nullification. We're gonna find one juror who's just going to be like, nah, I don't see that happening. I just think it's going to be tough to get 12 guys. Like, yeah, it's going to be one crazy hardcore Trump supporter on there, at least in my opinion. But from a political standpoint, the charges should have been filed. That's the correct thing to do, regardless of your privilege and your money, because we all know how that plays out. But I think from a political standpoint, if my guess on this is accurate and there's jury is nullified and it's a hung jury, the question is going to be, Mr. Prosecutor, do you want to retry this case? And after all the damn resources they used to get to this indictment to go through the trial process, if I were a prosecutor, I'd be like, nah. If I got a hung jury, one juror was like, two jurors was like, he didn't do it. The jury can't come to a consensus. I wouldn't waste the resources to try it again. And if that happens, I think that is going to be a big ass political boost for former President Trump, in my opinion. Because I mean, let's just be honest. Like, one thing he's good at, either if it's planned or by default, he's good at making. I mean, one, he's the funniest president ever. Like, some of the things he said are just hilarious, in my opinion. But he's good at making a narrative that his base will buy into. And if he gets momentum, we all like to. I mean, people in general like to be associated with fucking winners, right? Why the hell you think the Dallas Cowboys known as America's team? Because they was winning. Why do you think everybody loved Michael Jordan and the Bulls? Because they was winning. Don't know, but there's very few people out there like me who like losers. I'm like, go Washington Commanders, go Washington Wizards. Very few people are loyal to losers like me. Most people like to be associated with winners. If the jury is hung, the horn that he's going to play, which is, I think, obvious, is, hey, they had trumped up charges on me and it couldn't even stick because I was not guilty. No, jury nullification doesn't mean you were not guilty. It just means that they couldn't come to a consensus. Those are two different things. But his rhetoric is going to be played perfectly, as he should play it, honestly. He's going to play that rhetoric up as, this was a witch hunt. They went after me and I beat the Chargers. They're going to start calling them Teflon Don. And I personally think that would drive his base crazy, insane. It'll be wild. But so that's what's going on with the former president who's currently indicted. So me personally, I'm gonna just keep it a buck. I'm looking forward to the perp walk. I want to see how that goes. I think it's just gonna be. I think gonna walk in as if he was walking in the Trump Towers. I don't think he gonna have cuffs on or nothing. I'm looking forward to. I gotta see that mugshot photo. Like, that's gonna be wild. That's gonna be crazy, and it's gonna be interesting to see how it plays out. But in the next few days, expect to see the indictment unsealed so we can see what the actual charges are. But campaign finance, campaign violation, finance laws, campaign finance violations, and there's going to be something related to the cover up or the alteration of it up. They may throw something else in there that I'm not really familiar with, but I wanted to just kind of talk about it in general. Yeah, there are those that are expecting this to stop Trump from running for or being elected to office and that. Yeah, he can still run for office, and I talked about that a little bit earlier, but I just recap it for you. He can still run for office. Hell, I actually am of the opinion that he could still hold office. The language in the Constitution says the bar for a president is conviction of high crimes, but they don't define what a high crime is. For purposes of me, I think a high crime is either a high level felonies. When they list out felonies, A, B, and C are high level felonies. That stuff where if you do that, your ass is going to jail. Like an armed robbery, it ain't no probation for armed robbery. You get a split. That means you go to prison. So those, in my opinion, are high level felonies. Those F and G's are they aren't that serious. Like in some states, if you get enough driving, enough DUIs, even if you don't hit anybody, it could be a felony if it's compounded. If you got 3 DUIs in a 7-year period, it's a low level felony. Like, should that bar person for running or becoming president? No. So, but there's no definition to high crimes. I think of it as high level felonies, in my opinion, or a good argument would be a crime of moral turpitude. Now, if they go with that argument of a crime of moral turpitude is a high level felony, and that's just lawyer talk that they use for, like, I'm automatically going to lose my license if I have a crime of moral turpitude. What's that? Fucking with people money, doing something that could potentially lose the trust of who you're supposed to serve. So if they go with that definition of we're going to go high level felonies, crimes of moral turpitude, then it could be a bar, but I just don't see that happening. Um, that high crimes language is just no definition for it. So I think his attorneys would have a good argument if they even tried to say, "Oh, he was convicted of a high crime." Was he? I don't know. I can't. I mean, I think it's arguable at best, but that's kind of how that falls out. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Now, yeah, treason, but that's a whole other crime that he hasn't been indicted on. So I'm not going, but yeah, treason and high crimes. You're right. That's the language that they have in there exactly. It's a crazy ass day, man. Just think about it. Like my age group, like we seen like the worst of the worst. We seen like, all right, two economic downturns. We seen two economic downturns, two wars that were probably ridiculous. We seen like crazy stuff. We got presidents falling off of bikes every other week. Now we got ex-presidents getting indicted. But I mean, like, I, kudos to the justice system for getting this far. As somebody who works in the justice system, I thought, like, man, nobody will ever indict this dude. Even though they got evidence, people would be too scared. But I'm shocked that it got this far. I don't think it'll get any farther, but I might be wrong. I mean, the jury could come back with a guilty verdict, but I would be, if that happened, I would truly be shocked. I just think that chances are it's probably going to be a mistrial. And the other thing is, let's just keep it a buck. Hey, when you got power and money, shit just tend to work out in your favor. Stuff just tend to work out in your favor. You see, Michael Cohen ass went to jail, and I'm sure Michael Cohen got a little bit of money. If he was Trump's lawyer, Trump don't pay his lawyers, but I'm sure Michael Cohen did some stuff to where he got or had millions of dollars, but they sent his ass to jail. So hey, Trump has a level of power and resources that is probably unprecedented. So it's just going to be a tough road to go. Yeah, you can run for president. I know. I should just throw my name in the hat with these candidates we got. But the choices are the choices. But we just kind of got to deal with it. And like I said, the quick takeaways. I'm probably gonna put a short video out on these two things, but it doesn't bar him from running for office or holding that seat. High crimes, treason, like was said. That was great. I appreciate you going in that. And the other thing that I found was funny, like, hey, an incarcerated president does get to get Secret Service on that tax dollars. So, hey, at least he don't have to worry about, anything crazy going left if he's in custody. But I don't think he's going to be in custody. I would be freaking shocked, but I just don't see it. You see a lot of people on both sides. One side is saying, "Oh, this is a travesty." I think just objectively there was enough evidence for an indictment. So I think that that's right. I'm taking, Trump and Biden. I give a damn. I'm taking all the politics aside. If I look at it neutrally, if anybody, there was enough evidence for a crime, I would want their ass to be indicted. So I think that that was fair. Then you got so you got one side saying it's outrageous, it shouldn't happen. You got the other side saying he's not fit to run, and everybody just arguing and doing a bunch of stuff. Yeah. Hey, but it all depends on who's in office and who's willing to take that jump. Like we have yet to see any federal prosecutor take a jump to charge the president with anything. If the president got charged with anything, I knew that it was going to come from a blue state. Why would it come from a blue state? Because a prosecutor in a blue state is probably the only person who had a damn testicular fortitude to even go through with it. We know a AG, attorney general, a district attorney in a red state not going to do it. That's just not going to happen. They would lose that election so goddamn fast the next year they'd lose their job. So I knew it would come from a blue state. I knew it would be either DC or New York. And they that it just is what it is. All things aren't treated equal. As much as they should be, we know how our society is, and like, unfortunately, people have enough disdain for former President Trump to where they were like, okay, well, we'll make you the first. I don't think you're gonna eat a conviction, but they was like, we'll make them the first. But they politicians self-serving themselves. Is there any, like, I mean, that shit been going on since the beginning of time. So that's just kind of what it is. But we're gonna see how it play out. Yo, I appreciate all y'all tuning in. I know I had to do this video late as hell because I was like, I ain't gonna have the time to do it tomorrow. Yo, check out tomorrow's live. I'm gonna have my homegirl on who's an attorney. She got more years in the game with me, and we're gonna talk about a dope topic. We're gonna talk about when when should you leave your 9 to 5 when your side hustle starts to come up? Your side hustle making this money, when should you consider leaving? And we're gonna look at two cases. We're gonna look at one attorney who stopped being an attorney to open up and do OnlyFans because her shit was jumping. And we're gonna look at one guy who was a judge who started an OnlyFans and lost his damn job. The moral of that one little phrase I just said is, fellas, OnlyFans hit different for the ladies. So don't go out there starting the OnlyFans thinking you're gonna become a multimillionaire. That shit likelihood is low. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you check out the video on the screen. There's definitely going to be more content and things you can enjoy. Let me get this comment in before I jump out of here. Yeah, I agree. That's a hey, yo, that's a fair point. I don't disagree with you. Yeah. It's gonna be some emphasis, but a couple of those statements that Trump made, if I was representing him, I'd have been like, God damn, can we rewind and not say that? Like him saying, I think the most damning statements that he made to me were that was a private transaction. And there was another statement he made that shit just didn't look good. Like I I think if he would have if he would have excluded those statements he made, I think he would have been much better positioned. Because I'm gonna be honest, without him making those statements, I really wouldn't be too concerned with Michael Cohen. Because, like, I mean, like, come on, do we got a good impression? This is just me being objective. Like, if he made no statements that could be construed as an admission, right? Would I really give a damn about what Michael Cohen have to say? Like, no. I could put Michael Cohen on the stand and say, "Don't you have an incentive to fabricate all of this? Or don't you have an incentive to?" Yeah, because Michael Cohen isn't a fucking. I mean, that's a curse word I try to avoid saying on this channel, but he's not a damn saint. Michael Cohen is like sleazy as hell. So I don't think it'll be difficult to put Michael Cohen on the stand and question his candor, his ability for truthfulness, how he's not fair and impartial in this situation because he want to cover his own ass because he like writing book deals. Like I wouldn't be too worried about Michael Cohen. Um, I would probably be more concerned. I mean, Cohen's statements are what they are, but I think we got not a lot of leverage, but we can at least attack his credibility. Stormy Daniels, same way. I mean, worst case scenario, she get up there and talk. What does she know about it? She just gonna say, I don't think Stormy Daniels has any direct knowledge that Trump did anything if Michael Cohen was the go-between who acted to pay the money. What would she talk about that directly ties this into Trump? Well, Michael Cohen told me that Trump gave him we could object and get all that shit excluded anyway. So I agree that had he not had some statements, he probably would be in a much more favorable position. But we're gonna see how it play out. We're gonna see how it plays out. Oh man, you gave the game up in 2012? Oh, that's dope, man. That's dope. Yeah, see, I don't know how many years you put in. See, I'm at young in the game, but I only been at it almost 14 years. So, I'm like, it's not is I enjoy it. Man, a lot of people on YouTube hate being an attorney, but I mean, I enjoy it. Now I can't say I'm gonna enjoy it 4 or 5 years from now, but right now I enjoy what I do, and it is what it is. But yo, that's dope, man. Hey, I appreciate you tuning in, counselor. Everybody in the chat, I appreciate all y'all. I appreciate y'all comments and support. Y'all take care. Have a blessed one. Be safe. Peace.